So we're gonna mix it up this week. We're gonna do it a little bit different. We're gonna go on a bit more of a walking tour and look at different examples, because today on Wild Florida, we're talking about plant spacing. Hi, I'm Jacqueline, the Wild Floridian, and welcome to week 23 of the Growing Food is Easy challenge. The challenge where we save money, go local, and save the world one piece of food at a time. If this is your first time joining us and you want to start from the beginning, go ahead and click on this link right here, or you can wait till the end and a card will appear in one of these four corners. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about plant spacing and go look at some examples. So let's first start off with plant spacing. Why do I want to know about it? Why do I even care? Well, really what plant spacing comes down to is really about minimizing competition for the plant, for, those needed ingredients for getting the best out of the food we grow in our yard. We want to make sure that our plant gets the ideal amount of sunlight, air, so just like gets aerated, gets the water and the food it needs. Because when we do that, it's less likely to have disease and be a healthier plant and increase our yields. How much space do you need to give a plant? Well, it really depends on the plant. Some plants can be really close, some plants need to be really far. And traditionally, we're usually thinking about like vegetable garden beds. And so in a vegetable garden plant bed, you're gonna usually be somewhere between 1 foot to 3 feet apart, depending on the plant. So things like carrots, they like to be nice and close, so you're cool at putting them 1 foot apart. But things like your tomato plants, which end up growing and using a lot of resources, those are gonna wanna be about 3 feet apart. So it depends, but remember, we live in Florida, so food doesn't just go in all these nice little rows. It gets into these big guys right behind us, and those get into, almost room-sized distances apart, right? You're talking about 4 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet apart. I mean, it can be a lot. And so we always want to consider these things when picking out our plant choices, because, very quickly with some big guys, you have no room left. So we want to consider the plant spacing. So before we go and check out some examples, I wanted to share some lessons learned, because I think when it comes to gardening, there's kind of two different ways that people approach it. I think there's those who, they get the books, they do lots of research, they like to follow instructions and directions and follow exactly as it's given to them. And then there's others who like to be very free-spirited, and they just like to throw stuff out there and see what happens, and they'll just go with it. It's okay if it looks a mess. So I get that there's two different approaches. I think it just has to do with your personality, and neither's really wrong for starting, because I think from both you learn a lot, and then you start to push kind of more towards the center of maybe not following the directions exactly. You start to experiment more, or for those who are kind of like, woo, and then you learn some lessons the hard way, then you start moving back towards like, well, you know what, maybe I'll take a few of those tips. So I get it, because I've done both. But here are a couple things I've learned. So one is spacing is important. It does increase the health of your plants and your overall yields. But pushing the boundaries is also a good thing. It can allow you to put more variety in your yard, especially when we talk about these big plants. You can't get a lot in if you put them all 20 feet apart, right? Right. But the third thing is that because I probably started in some areas like on the side of, just throw stuff everywhere. A very practical thing I learned was, you step on a bunch of stuff, and you've probably heard me say that before. I've stepped on a lot of plants and killed them, so consider always leaving walking paths at a bare minimum. Okay, enough sitting here and talking. Let's go check out some examples. So one of the classic examples that usually people talk about when it comes to gardening is going to be your tomato plants, usually spaced about 3 feet apart. And the reason is because whether you have an indeterminate or a determinate, they need space to grow. Have some cilantro and green onion and an herb row. These guys can be spaced together pretty tight. When it comes to green onions, these guys can be very close together. You can see 2 to 3 inches apart, and they grow great. This pot right here has grown pounds of green onions. When it comes to beans, 3 feet apart again. They love the space. They're gonna get nice and bushy, and they're gonna give us great yields while also fixing our nitrogen. Comes to lettuces, these guys can be pretty darn close together, like 6 inches. So you can get a lot of yield. And because they start to go vertical as they're getting ready to bolt, you can pack them in. These ones, they've just bolted, gonna get ready to collect some seeds. Unlike lettuce, pumpkins need a lot of space. Another plant that's a big space hog, sweet potatoes. But it'll pay off in the end. So in this tiny space that you normally see me filming in, are they packed way too tight? Yeah, probably. But we get a lot of food out of here, and so that's okay. I'm okay with the fact that I might have to take something out in the long run, because we get a lot of pounds. And it really, when you hear me talk about the 150 pounds from last year, a lot of it comes from just this small mini food forest. So in a really small space, we've got a lot of plants going on. From banana trees, to mulberries, to grand name bananas, to mulberries, even to an avocado hiding back here. This is a small space with a lot going on. When it comes to learning, this is the side I've learned the most in. I have planted way too much stuff at times and not given the space, and hence stepped on a bunch of stuff. So, which is also why I started to learn to go vertical. And it's good to know and leave some space for other stuff to grow. You never know what might show up, like papaya. Okay, so now you know exactly how to space your plants, and whether you're doing it perfectly or you're pushing some boundaries, it's all good. But we need to talk about what's happening right now, and maybe happening in a few minutes. It's the rainy season, and it has officially started. So to make sure you don't miss next week's episode, go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. New videos each Tuesday and Friday, and sometimes a bonus on Sunday. And while you wait for the next episode, go ahead and check out this, or YouTube thinks you'll like this. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.